Hello, everybody. My name is Joel Filderman, and welcome to the Dog Trainers Connection. I am not a dog trainer, but these other people you see here are. We get together, we discuss a topic, we always have some interesting discussions, but sometimes come up with some answers. But like I said, we always have an interesting discussion. So for today's topic, what we were discussing right before is something that's trending in the news, which is Yoda, the dog that caught the prisoner in Pennsylvania, I believe it is, right? And it was Belgian Malinois. And what we were discussing was the fact that whenever these dogs are in the news, whatever the breed is, they become very popular. And sometimes that's not necessarily a good thing. Belgian Malinois, they're great dogs, but not everybody should have them in their home. That's kind of what we were saying before. So I'm going to throw that out to the trainers and who'd like to start today?
I'll give it a whirl.
All right.
So, yeah, people obviously see something so fascinating. First, people don't realize the amount of training
Hmm.
that goes into having a dog perform at that level, right? Let alone the fact that with little training, the dog is a superior athlete and has superior skills than most other breeds. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just, and you guys know I'm a pit bull guy, but I mean, Mallies, whew,
Yeah.
I've seen them do some things that are just pretty crazy. And their mental capacity, I don't know if there's any studies out there. I'm sure there are, but their mental capacity has to be pretty dang high too. But people see that and they don't realize what goes into it, and maybe oh, they're beautiful, right? So, and they're not large animals, like they're not big gigantic animals, right? So people think, oh, I can probably get one of those.
Hmm.
And no, you can't. You can, but it'll wind up somewhere else because 99% of people just won't be able to handle it as far as the average dog owner goes.
Sure.
I mean, I'm a I'm a trainer. I wouldn't get one at this point in my life. I mean, I wouldn't, for the same reasons I wouldn't get a puppy. Not because I don't think I could handle it. No, I just don't have it in me.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with with admitting that either. And
Of
I think
course.
that's what people have to, especially if they're actively in the market for a dog right now, just look throughout history, right? Collies with Lassie, Jack Russells with
Yeah.
Frazier. And not last year we had that movie come out with what, Channing Tatum or whatever, that had the Malinois on it.
Yes.
I was worried, but then I watched the movie and I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty good example of what a Malinois is. Like, because him and that dog, they had like some serious journey to get where they needed to
Yeah.
go. Like the dog was nuts, not bad nuts, just at any rate, it always concerns me when a dog is trending or is popular, that there's going to be not necessarily an explosion of people looking for it, which is part of the equation. What concerns me most is that because of that, then breeders are going to start pumping out dogs just to
Yes.
pump out dogs. And
Yes.
obviously, I'm in rescue, so I have my feelings about breeding, which is, not for this topic, but um, the they'll just start pumping dogs out to make a quick buck and turn around a quick buck. And then if you have a dog that isn't suited for the average dog owner to begin with, coming from God knows what backyard or
Right.
puppy mill, it's a recipe for disaster. And
Yeah.
then people in the rescue community are the ones left picking up the pieces for dogs that make it to rescue, right?
Yeah. Most definitely.
Because I mean, like any other high energy breed or true working dog from a true working line, like if you're not, if you don't have the capacity or the environment to satisfy that dog's needs or some outlet to replicate what that dog does for a living, and the energy level yourself and time to
Yeah.
match what that dog needs, it's going to be really, it's going to be a bad situation, and I hope that everyone celebrates this dog. Yoda, his name is, right?
Yeah.
Celebrates the dog, and also acknowledges the fact that that is not a breed for any. In fact, it was last year. I think Babette and I did a little thing on my YouTube channel about, I forgot the name of the movie with Channing Tatum and
Yeah, I can't remember what
and
it
the
was
Malloy.
Yeah,
I
I
forgot the
didn't
name of
see
it.
it.
But we did a little segment on it too, and we talked all about Malleys and stuff, and
But Jeff, you mentioned Lassie and all those other things, and so I'm curious what you think, trainers. How much of all this is what we were brought up with? How much of this is that oh, we were brought up with, oh, Lassie's this, and people my generation were brought up with the 101 Dalmatians from the Disney movies, and some of the kids nowadays were brought up with like Oliver and Company, or whatever, all those other ones. So how much of it is this um fantasy of what a dog is because of what we see, and how much of it is just we want to be part of the thing because everybody else has that? I'm just throwing that out there to everybody. Does anybody have any comment on that?
Well, let's talk about shoes. I guess if you're into sneakers, you want some Jordans.
Yeah.
How come? Because everybody wants Jordans.
Yep.
They become fashionable. So dogs are no different. I think breeds. They become fashionable. They become popular somehow.
Yeah.
And it's TV or it's movies. It's not.
And now with Westminster, it's gotten even worse, because then every year that the dog wins Westminster, everybody's like, well, I'm going to go get one of those.
One of those, yeah.
Right. Well, I guess if your shoe fits, I have a client, that had some like 7-pound dog that she would consider her therapy dog. It wasn't a trained service animal, but just one of those hold 'em, love it to death, wonderful dog. And then she went out and bought herself a German Shepherd dog that was already trained and stuff, high-end training, big, beautiful working line dog and stuff. And she had some issues, so she contacted me. We did a little Zoom. And she said, I've been a dog owner my whole life. I've had all kinds of breeds, all kinds of dogs. Why do I feel so like inept here with this dog? And I said, well, you've been driving a Volvo your whole life, and now you stepped into a Ferrari. You think you can drive a performance vehicle without taking any, nobody, you're just going to step in after driving a Volvo all these years, and you're going to be jetting down the street in a Ferrari. I mean, you're going to need some lessons. It's not just I've had a dog, or I've been driving, or I've been wearing sneakers. There are things, and when you look at movies and whatnot, they may bring some popularity to a certain dog breed, but nothing for real about. I mean, we could talk about Collies, not to sort of jam up the Malinois, but I never met a Collie that could keep its mouth shut, for God's sake. Bark, 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 bark.
Yep.
It's that what are you barking about? For God's sake, talk to me, dog. Quietly, please. They're just noisy. I mean, I have honestly got some rough Collies that were not that bad, but lots of them are just. They're not going to talk about you, Lassie, bark on TV, make too much barking. No, it's just go find Timmy. He's lost. It wasn't the whole. Endless nonsense, problematic barking. So every breed's got some nonsense, I mean, for the most part, it's just, can you tolerate it? It's just, did you sign up for this? It's a Ferrari. And no lessons.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if this Ferrari is in good shape. Was it built well? I mean, I saw some guy talking about the breedings. Right. I think he was more or less, he was really wanted to talk Malinois, but he kind of turned it to the Shepherd by saying, there's so many videos nowadays suggesting if you want a nice round dog for your family, get a working line German Shepherd. But then he instantly kicks in that, Well, people kind of realized that getting a working line shepherd required some work.
Right.
They're job oriented, right? They got tasks in mind. So what did they do? They came up with the show line German Shepherd, which is a do nothing dog, pretty much. Let's get one of those. It'll take care of us. No, it won't. But that's you don't need somebody to take care of you. You just thought you did. You need a do nothing dog because that's going to be successful for you because you're a do nothing owner. So, but yet somewhere in that show line German Shepherd, there might be some traces of some work ethic there. And what do you do then? So it's so difficult to find an individual for anybody that's going to fit the bill if you're clear in the mind enough to know what the bill is. What do I really need? Do I have children? Because people getting Malinois, they're getting Malinois. It's like, it's going to be all right. It's like probably not. And that doesn't make them bad. They're really good at what they do if they're handled well. They need a lot of maintenance.
That doesn't make the dog bad, or that doesn't make the people bad.
It makes people the way as people are, which is they are impulse shoppers. They shop for looks. That's human, unfortunate human nature. The saddest thing, like Jeff says, is it ends up in the lap of rescue. And imagine being the kind-hearted person who takes in a Malinois that ate somebody's face, that ends up somehow not dead, but in rescue. And the kind-hearted rescue person tries to honestly find a suitable spot for this dog. To the umpteenth degree, unfortunately, the wrong way. And despite the fact that the rescue person did all the right stuff, this dog now has assaulted somebody else.
Right.
And in this litigious society, you can bet that the rescue person's going to be sued, just the same as the new owner was.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that damages the ability of the rescue organization or person to continue rescuing because they are now deep in a hole owning boatloads of money for an accident they really didn't mean to happen or really weren't even necessarily that connected to because the dog was already moved one step. That I know this because I've seen this before in the dog world in the past where, they sue everybody. They may not win, but you have to sleep at night. If you're a rescue guy, you don't want letters from lawyers and you got to show up in court and all this. It's like time out of your day. You really didn't mean for any of this to happen. You were trying to do the right thing by a dog, but it didn't work out. Why? Because it was a difficult dog. And despite the fact that the new owner said, I've had these dogs my whole life. I know these dogs. I know how to handle these dogs. No, it didn't work out this time because you didn't have one like this.
Yeah.
So, I think we have talked lots over the years about, finding the individual. Can you get a do nothing Malinois? I guess there's such a thing maybe somewhere, but you got to win the lotto to find that. All the rest of them are like busy bees. What are we doing? What are we doing? Where's the bad guy? Let's do this. Let's get busy. So, and Mals aren't the only breed, but they can be mighty damn dangerous.
Sure.
And they're going. They're going. They don't fool around. It's like Jeff said, they're not very big. They're super athletic, right? They're real smart, but they're not always as compliant as we would like. They may understand you. That doesn't mean they're going to do it, right? And it's all question. Well, how are you going to get a dog like that with a kind of, let's say, a mind of his own to respond to commands? I don't know. A lot of times, there's a lot of force involved. And how many Malinois have you seen that had to have their tail cut off because they just chewed it? Spinning because they had no outlet. They just they go psycho. They just really need what most regular people don't have to provide.
Yeah.
So it really is a really sad thing. I think this dog Yoda is a hero. I think that the cops that live with Malinois are heroes to do so. All the work that it takes for a canine handler to handle a Malinois, those guys deserve badges, medals for that stuff. And I'm sure there's a fair number of those guys who have been hurt on the job by their dogs.
Yes.
It's serious stuff. I mean, I'm thrilled that this guy was caught. I'm thrilled he was caught by a dog. You know, I'm like this. I said they should have sent these dogs out a long time ago, and they would have sucked this guy. I mean, two guys running around in the woods, and I'm thinking, you can't see it from a helicopter. He's in the woods. You know, send the dog in there for God's sake. A couple of dogs will drag him out by his ass, and that'll be the end of it. You know, like who's running the show there in Pennsylvania? They finally got slick, and Yoda came on the job, and the guy's back behind bars now. So
Yep.
That's it.
just sad that it's another Malinois story.
Yeah.
Videos of them walking on like tight ropes, blindfolded, backward. Stuff like climbing the walls.
Oh, straight up.
Straight up. You think you can get in a tree to save yourself? You're done. They're going up. This is not a normal dog breed for your average family. And
Right.
we could say no when they call, right?
Yeah.
When these people call up, I got a Malinois. And what are you going to say? Sorry. Did you call me and ask what breed I should get for my family? No. You got a Malinois, now you're calling me, keep on dialing, like, right?
Well, but sometimes, Steve, we as trainers, when people get what was not the ideal dog for them, I'm finding lately that it's just the people that can reach out and find a trainer that really can help them manage their dog and live with it. If it's the wrong dog, if they're too old and the dog's too strong, or they got old and the dog's too strong for them now, or they didn't address a behavior that was annoying and has become really annoying or dangerous, the people that reach out and go to a trainer, and if they don't like what that trainer does, find another one and keep looking, are the ones that can keep the dog that they've grown to love, but may not have been the ideal breed for them. And they can have success in working things out, even if it's just managing the behaviors and not doing fixes. And
I wish I could go with this.
What'd you say?
I said I wish I could go with this. It's a lovely story, but I'm having trouble.
I was going to say it's there's a difference between a dog that is not right for the
No, but
person,
I'm not talking about a Malinois. I'm not talking about somebody getting a Jack Russell or a breed that an Aussie or a cattle dog that's just going to be holed up in an apartment and never do anything. That's just, there's no solution for that. They got the wrong dog. But when somebody adopts a dog from a rescue, or they buy a dog, sometimes there are issues that come up that they can really, if they get a trainer who's sensitive to that breed, who can figure out how to help them, it can be a miracle for them, and it can really help them live with that particular dog. So to me, I'm just trying to say that trainers or the trainer tell the dog it's not the right dog for you. The rescue needs to take it back, or you need to rehome it, if it's not a dangerous dog, or you need to rehome it to a family that doesn't have children. I'm trying to, I think that, and I know you've experienced that too, Steve. You've helped people, not the extreme of a Malinois. That's, that's off the charts, or some of these dogs, or, even shepherds for some people, and a working line dog. But I really, I'm all here for trainers. And I'll tell you, and I'm lucky that I know some damn good trainers that I can refer people to that have issues, that don't want to give up the dog, but just need to learn how the hell can I get this dog what it needs so it doesn't drive me crazy, and that I can live comfortably. Because people love their dogs even if they have these horrible behaviors and attributes. So I'm not being pie in the sky with it, Steve, and I'm not talking about Malinois, but I know God knows, I know you've helped thousands of people just by giving them one tip to do with their dog even.
Yeah, but that's, you know, if helping the people, we're dog trainers, right? So it's our job. But I think our primary job is working on behalf of the dog,
Mhm.
right? So having people do things, coming up with a solution that works for the people but doesn't work for the dog is not a fair solution, right? So you can sometimes arrange it so a person can manage, but if you really look at the life of the dog at that point, it's sad, right? So we're trying to help. They love the dog, okay. If you love it enough, let it go if it's not right and you can't fulfill the dog. And that's like a really kind of a hard, I'm sure I'll get hate mail now for saying that, because people are like, well, you're going to tell people they can give up their dog? I'm like, they don't deserve it. They shouldn't have it, right? And so trying to fix it up for them, but the dog is the one who's losing, doesn't work for me. You know, it doesn't work. I mean, I have to look at the whole thing. Can I make it right for both? And if I can't,
Yeah, I was going to say it's a two-way street.
Oh, it's definitely both.
right?
I'm not
And so,
saying
but
it isn't.
right,
Sure.
right. But the thing is, a lot of times people are not as concerned about the dog side as themselves. My dog this, my dog that, blah, 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 blah. You know, I find excuse me, I find myself saying, it's like a Bob Bailey line. If you can't change your own behavior, you've got no shot at changing a dog's behavior. So, what are we really talking about? And people don't want to change their own behavior,
Sure.
right? To fit the dog.
Sometimes they do, Steve, if they get a trainer who can enlighten them to just come out and say, this is what you need to do to help your dog.
I wish I had
I mean,
a
I
wand,
know.
You wish you had a wand? Is that what you said?
I wish I had a wand, I mean, it's like
I
I want
know.
to see,
I know.
Yeah, I think, and I know we started off talking about Mallies and stuff. And I mean, it's appropriate because regardless of breed, like Bonnie mentioned, people are gonna, that's inevitably face some situation that they're gonna need help with, whether they self-train their dog or they hire someone.
Yeah.
What I find a lot is, and this just to kind of, piggyback off you, Bonnie, is most people are willing, and most people are willing to a degree. Right. And I think that was kind of what Steve was alluding to as well. And then it's our job to navigate that line to find out where we can, kind of step in the middle, so to speak, and find common ground so everybody wins.
Right.
Right.
And it's always a challenge. And I think two things I've noticed is that sometimes people need permission to do certain things.
Definitely.
That they are either afraid to do or they feel bad, like crate training, for instance, something really superficial, right? Or like I just had a session not too long ago, multi-dog household, young male hound approaching maturity, started with conflict with the oldest male in the house. No pit bulls involved, by the way. They were actually a hound and a lab or something. At any rate, the younger one was always opted for avoidance and would go, you hear those dogs that would go put itself in the crate kind of thing. The dog would literally go into the guest bedroom and just to avoid conflict. And, so obviously we did work, walk the dogs, worked them, had them loose in the house, make sure everything was okay. So we can at least take the next steps towards potentially full integration and harmony. Right. But in the meantime, I talked about baby gates, and their house was like perfect for it. It was perfect because the one dog, his life wouldn't change at all other than the humans having to close the gate when he goes and puts himself to bed. Right. And the other dog would be on the other half of the house where he preferred to be. So we could put a gate up there, which made the humans' lives easier.
Yeah.
And talk of rehoming wasn't even discussed during our session, where it was discussed on our phone call. Okay. I did not push it that way. It was what I was presented with when I got there. the dogs, you know, when dogs have it out for each other, it's like, okay, this is going to be a problem, right? If it's the 99%, 1% chance, you know, they might have conflict, whatever. And the people are willing, and it was almost like I needed to give them permission to lock the dogs up. And
Sure.
we're not talking about in a laundry room. Like we're talking,
No.
they each had like a queen size bed. Like, I mean, you know, from the dog's perspective, nothing changed except a gate. That's the only thing that changed. And it was almost like giving them permission to manage the environment right now while I gave them their homework to work through this, you know? So, but they were willing. They were willing, and they were relieved because the gates, again, did not change the dog's life. Right. And in fact, improved their life because the thought of the gate gave them just a feeling like we could relax for a minute, you know?
There was separation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people, you know, we've all been involved with dogs fighting. It's, you know, we as professionals, generally we overcome it. We're off to the races the next day. People, it takes them time to recover emotionally and energy wise from seeing their dogs fighting. So having that little reprieve was great for that household. If it was a situation where, you know, there were two Corsos, you know, mauling each other and destroying the house, and the people are, you know, am I doing that? Probably not, because what gate is holding a Cane Corso? You know, but yeah, so I think both of you make really valid points. Is that, you know, but again, it's our job to find that line, again, as voices for the dogs, but also, and that's part of the rescue had in me. Like I always, unless they're like complete jerks, like my first thing is what do I got to do to keep this dog in this home? Because it is a beautiful home. They do love the dog. Like that's always on my mind. But ultimately I have a job to do, and that is speaking on behalf of the dog and fixing problems. So, but yeah, you both bring up very valid points.
Thank you.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I know I'm wearing stripes and not spots, but I will share this. When I wrote my book, I included my feelings about dog breeds. I said some things about the Dalmatian, and then I sent the book in for the review. And since it was Disney who published it, it didn't go that well.
Oh yeah.
Came back with like, you know, all kinds of like marks all over the paper. There's like little eddings, like you can't say this, you know, kind of stuff. And I'm like, you told me to say my truth, you know, what was true to me. I just did. You can't say this, you know, rewrite. And, you know, I had to and like soften it as much as I could without lying. You know, Dalmatians eat children's face, you know.
And what about Lady and the Tramp and Cocker Spaniels?
Please,
did they make you change that chapter too?
Oh no, well, you know, I mean, they had their issues, but you know, I danced around. But you know, it's about money, you know. It's about money, and let's try and make this working dog not so working, because people who have money can buy it, and that's just what they want, because they can't do the other thing. And there was a time when working dogs were actually owned by people who work dogs. Pet dogs, the way it should be. Found them in the street in the Bronx. You know, they were just walking. You know, they didn't have a place. They follow you, give them one little cookie, and they were yours. You know, that was it. And they slid right into your house. They found a little towel on the floor. They laid themselves down. Yeah. Boom, that's your dog. You know, it was easy. You know, then this whole designer thing, it's like the Air Jordans. You know, I'm going to get sued for that too, but all right. So, bad things about it. I got a pair myself, you know, back in the day. But, you know, it's about all that media and, you know, I got this and.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to say anybody listening to this, watching this, Jeff and Steve, get in touch with them if you need help, because they will tell you the truth.
If there's a lawyer involved, call those guys.
They'll help you.
All right, folks. I think that's a good place to stop.
And get in touch with me. I'll give you their contact information. Because they can help you. And I know it. And tell you the truth if they can't.
Okay, and
that's
once
what
again, I've lost control. So with that,
Right.
I want to thank you both, all three of you, for being here. Sorry, it's been a long day. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And don't forget to like us on Facebook if you haven't done it, and give a thumbs up for this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And we will see you next time. Thanks a
next
lot, folks.
month.
Bye.
Bye.